It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It is a Monday morning, and we thank you very much for joining us at the start of a brand new week. Now, this past Saturday saw the celebrations for Pride Month kick off, as June is globally regarded as the month where the LGBTQI+ community celebrates the strides made by its members. And there's no denying, though, that even as far advanced and visible as gay rights are, there are still a myriad of issues faced by the community and a direct effect of marginalization by society at large, of course.
So today we are asking you, what are the issues that the gay community grapples with? Dr. Eve, she's in the building with us to help us discuss this very important topic, and we'd love to hear from your questions and your comments as well. So why don't you head on over to our Expresso Facebook page, drop a comment on our post, and we will engage with you live on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. This is a complicated topic, so parental guidance is advised.
Yeah, as always, Dr. Eve, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is something, of course, that I think is very, very closely to your heart as,
It
I think,
is.
an observer of human rights in general.
That's true. I'm here in two capacities, I guess, Kat, as an activist, a human rights defender, and as a clinician who works with the pain, the difficulty of people who are transitioning and people who are coming out, and also the joy of people who successfully are embracing all of the rights that are afforded to them in our country. And just to put a caveat to that, 38 African countries still criminalize any kind of LGBTIQA+ rights. Maybe we should unpack what that acronym is.
Can we do that? Yes,
because I think it's complicated, huh?
It's a kind of word that's thrown around.
Exactly.
And people don't necessarily know exactly what it means.
Right.
So go ahead, please.
So L is for lesbian, G is for gay, and B is bisexual. LGBT is transgender, which I never know why it's really there, but it is. Q is for queer, A is for asexual, and then people keep adding on whatever they want, and intersex as well, which is also thrown in. So anybody who is gender diverse and sexual orientation fluidity, who is non-conforming to societal norms, which is your heteronormative model, your mono-heteronormative model, those people would then put themselves into the LGBTIQA bracket and say, I'm non-conforming. And the joy of it is that more and more people are joining that marginalized group. And with time, let's hope that the 43% of people, young people who recently said in a survey, and I think we spoke about it last week, that they are non-binary, that they don't conform to I'm either male or female. That's going to keep increasing. So we will have more tolerance and more respect of our differences, which is really an important thing that we have to do and therefore celebrate.
Yeah.
But there remain really big issues, Kat and Zoe, big issues that people who are in LGBTIQA grouping still face.
Yeah.
And we're kind of going to be focusing today not on the teenagers, because we do a lot of that. You know, we do talk about high suicide rates, high depression rates, high rates of alcohol, high rates of any kind of mental illness that happens with people in that age group.
Yeah.
But we're going to be focusing on people who are actually practicing being sexual, men who have sex with men, and look at the changes that have happened in that world.
Yeah. Dr. Eve, wow, amazing. We're going to be unpacking this topic throughout our relationship discussion on this Monday morning.
Yeah.
And one of the big questions we're asking is, what are the issues that the gay community grapples with? And we'd love to hear your questions. We'd love to have your comments. And of course, we'll be engaging with our relationship expert, Dr. Eve. So head on over to our Facebook page, drop a comment on the post, and we'll be engaging with you very shortly.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
And we are back here with Dr. Eve in the house. We are talking relationships, and June is Pride Month. It's kicked off earlier on the 1st of June, of course. And Dr. Eve is here with us this morning. We are unpacking this topic, and of course, it is of a sensitive nature. So if your kids are around, we do ask for parents' guidance. And of course, if you have a comment or a question you'd love to ask us, you can head on over to our Expresso Facebook page. Dr. Eve, you mentioned something very interesting with regards to, is it biomedical technologies? Despite all of that, there's still an increase in HIV rates?
Right. I mean, you think about, we celebrate Gay Pride Month because in 1969 there was a raid and there was a riot in Stonewall in Greenwich Village in Manhattan, where the police came in and gay men were gathering and just having a good time, and the police came in and said, it's illegal, break it down, and they write it. And since 1970 they write it, and since that time, Gay Pride Month has been established, where gay people said, actually, it is our right to gather, to live, to just be treated as everybody else is being treated.
Yeah.
So if you look back at how there has been so much advancement, we're talking about rights just now, Kat, but also biomedical technology, which has completely changed the face of men with men, gay men, men having sex with men, because since the advent of HIV/AIDS, right, there has been the discovery of ARVs, which has been life-changing, because it certainly doesn't cure HIV, but it certainly will treat and manage the disease. So there's been a change in sexuality since that time. And one would imagine that the HIV rates would come down because of that. Men on ARVs, there's such an awareness. We talk about condoms all the time, using protection, safer sex, but it hasn't.
Yeah.
So there's new research that's been coming forward and saying, well, why is there such a high incidence in HIV still, specifically in men who have sex with men? And they found other factors that have really influenced it, which I find completely fascinating.
Yeah.
Factors such as loneliness, depression, social anxiety, compulsive acting out sexual behavior, sexual awkwardness, negotiation around condoms. And because people who are LGBTIQA are still so marginalized, the ability to talk about it, to come out, is so fraught with distress that it shows in their own social behavior, their mental and emotional behavior, and in their sexual behavior. And so the incidence of HIV is still really, really high. So you're probably aware of something called PrEP, which is pre-exposure prophylactics. Again, another incredible biomedical technology, which if you take it, even if you're not infected with HIV, you take it, and you are then assured of not being infected if you are sexual with somebody who is infected. So if I have a partner who's HIV infected, who I know is HIV infected, I can take PrEP, even though I'm not infected, and I know that I can safely not be infected with my partner. But I still have to use a condom.
I was about to ask the question about where does the self-preservation aspect of it come in? And I understand maybe from the point of view where you're saying, because society treats the community in a certain way, there's a certain acting out of the extreme behaviors that are seen as taboo by the community in order to, for that shock factor. But where does, from a psychological point of view, where does that self-preservation end? And you go, well, I'd rather than engage in irresponsible sexual behavior
well, if you're
in order to make myself heard or make myself seen.
Well, if you're feeling depressed, Kat, and if you know that you've got an enormous amount of social anxiety and you're still not accepted, and in the workplace or at school, there is still such marginalization that happens. You're still going to get beaten up, especially if you're a woman, right? We know that there's so much, there has been in the past, especially in our country, so much death around lesbian women who are suspected of being lesbian or have come out as lesbian, that there is still a fear, there is still a closeting that happens. And so it's like a risk factor that creeps in. Like, okay, so what? I'm going to get infected. I'm going to be marginalized. I may as well take a whole lot of drugs as well to be able to get me through the sexual experience. And there isn't enough self-value and self-care that can happen. Now, I'm talking about a group of people. Obviously, we know that we have lots and lots of our viewers who really are responsible and who do practice safer sex and who do know about condoms. So I'm talking about a group of people who are at risk. And those are the group of people that we're talking to today to say, you really want to practice safer sex. You still want to be using condoms, even though there's PrEP available.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break while we digest all that Dr. Eve has had to say. She'll have more to share with us after the break as we engage in this very important subject matter. And I think I want to ask when we come back about what we as a community at large can then do to better understand the issues that trouble the LGBTQI plus community, and so that we can move forward in this context. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. This is your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's a Monday morning and we're right in the thick of things. We're talking relationships with Dr. Eve with a specific focus on the LGBTQI plus community, the challenges that face them, especially in the month of June, which is Pride Celebration Month. all around the world. Let's quickly take in what you said on social media.
That's right. We're heading over to our Twitter poll that Dr. Eve has placed online. And the question we're asking is, do you think the LGBTQI plus people continue to suffer, or do you think they are fully accepted? We are asking you, we had 22% says accepted, 57, which is the majority, say suffer, and 21% is unsure.
I find this really pleasing.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pleased that people are so aware, Kat, that there is still suffering that happens. And I also like the humility of people who are saying, actually, I'm unsure, I don't really know how to do this.
Yeah.
I don't really know what is going on in the LGBTIQA community right now. So I'm really pleased about this, and I'm pleased around the suffering. So I think that kind of answers your question about what can we do as a community to be able to minimize the suffering that we're aware of, right? Yeah. We're aware of it, but what do we do about it? Mm-hmm. So it's about, I mean, simplistically, in the workplace, I don't even, we can't even, it's not even about having policies, because we have a constitution. We have a Bill of Rights that clearly says you cannot discriminate against anyone based on part of that, sexual orientation and gender. So we cannot do that legally, but we're not accepting, we're not tolerant of people's differences. We're afraid and we're ignorant. So it's about developing and understanding that we are people, and we don't have to look for religious reasons or biological reasons or medical reasons why we're different, why we may fit or self-identify in the LGBTIQA category. We don't have to look for reasons for it. It's about accepting that we are different, and that's normative. That's who we all are as people. So whether it's in a business environment, a corporate environment, we should be able to have policies of tolerance and respect. In schools, it is so, so important that is part of sexuality education. We spoke about that last week a little. So important to recognize in school, when young people are coming out, that there is diversity, that there is fluidity. No longer is there the binary male-female. There is a non-binary, and schools have to be adaptive towards that, so that there isn't the ongoing bullying, verbal abuse, marginalization that happens to school kids. Why do they keep quiet? Because if they say something, they are outed. So if you're going to say to somebody, oh, you're a muffy, or look at you, you're a sissy, or you dress like a boy, or you're such a tomboy, kids can't go and complain, because then it'll be, well, actually, yeah, I don't think I am this heterosexual person. Yeah. And so they keep quiet, and it has terrible, terrible consequences to them.
Sure. All right, so we take a look at some of the social comments. On Facebook, we did have a topic as well where we asked about this, kind of the same sort of line of questioning there for people to tell us about today, about their thoughts on the challenges that are faced by the LGBTQI.
I want to go to Hiram's
go ahead.
Question. He asked how much abuse we accept from our families, friends, because we feel grateful that they tolerate us. The world is so horrible to us that we accept the bare minimum from our families, friends, and call it love.
I'm so excited about that, because I've just read a research article. Thank you, Hiram, for that comment. I just read a research article about how there is almost microaggression or micro-stigmatization, micro-marginalization, where we think as families we're accepting our children who may be gender diverse or may be different in terms of sexual orientation, but we make comments all the time. So for example, if your child is coming out or is leaning towards being gender diverse or non-conforming, you will then say to them, no, if you're a boy, you can't wear that dress to school because everyone's going to mock you. Or I'm not going to change the pronoun. I'm not going to call you she anymore. I'm not going to call you Kathy, because people are going to laugh at you. Yeah. And that is so wrong. So I'm going to stay with a little bit with pronouns for families who are listening. If your child says to you, please don't call me he or she, call me they, please listen and respect that. Yeah. If your child is coming out and saying, actually, I think I'm a boy, but I actually have the characteristics of a female, and I want to be called not Zoe, but I want to be called Zach, please respect that and say he. Just start out with that, because others it is really micro-marginalization.
Question, from a family perspective and trying to protect your children say that your child wants to start expressing their gender
Yes.
diversity,
Yes.
and they are of school-going age, how
Yes.
do you protect them? Because maybe the one hand says, I don't want you to be mocked by kids and to be bullied all
Exactly.
day, so wear the normal
them.
uniform. But thus also allowing them to be who they are.
Yeah. So this is part of what the research is beautiful that you bring it up, Kat, is that this is another justification that parents have for their own struggle and accepting that their child is different. That's how I want to protect you. What are you protecting you against? Because if you're going to
The
go...
world.
Yeah. But, you know, we want to change the world. Isn't that what we're here
This is
for?
true.
We want to change the world and not make it feel like it's unsafe.
Yeah.
So we go into the world and we say to the school, actually, our child is going to wear a dress. He looks like a boy, but actually he's taken on the persona of a woman, and you're going to accept it, and we're going to bring in gender dynamics to be able to give you a great workshop and to teach the children about tolerance. So not that our child has to change, but the world has to change.
Yeah.
Going into a corporate environment and saying, actually, I'm going to be coming to work in suits now because I am embracing the fact that I am gender diverse and I'm identifying as a male right now. The workplace has to change. The country has to change. We have to change, not the child. We're not protecting the child. We're protecting ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't
Think
that
on
fabulous?
that a little bit
Yeah.
on this Monday morning.
that.
Dr. Eve has opened up a whole different portal of discussion, and we appreciate that very, very much. Always so
Right.
insightful to have you here. And of course, you can keep on engaging with her further on social media. But I think that's all the time we have for this week's relationship talk. And of course, we'll be doing it again next week. And until then, thanks, babe. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this.